up, everybody? My name is Elliott, but you can call me the Motory Notary. And remember, if you live in Arizona, you can paint your house whatever color you like, as long as it's brown. If you can't tell from the scenery behind me, I'm here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, because you can see the Pueblo type architecture. But also behind me, this 2006 Lotus Elise that I rented from Turo, because that's where you can rent cool cars that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. It was either this or a Ford Fiesta. I went with this. All right, like I said, this is a 2006 Lotus Elise that I rented from Turo. Now, I'm not gonna give Turo a whole pitch because they didn't pay me any money. I had to pay real money for this, but I'm glad I did because now I get to show you guys what one of these is like. So, what you get for your 2006 Lotus Elise is supercar looks, tiny size, and a Toyota engine. If you just look at this thing, if you didn't know what it was, you'd probably think it's some sort of Ferrari, Lamborghini. In fact, I've already been asked if this was a Ferrari at a stoplight. And I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. Lotus isn't really a well-known brand, so it's kind of understandable if you don't. Every single line and curve on this thing is exaggerated. You have these crazy, like, bug-eye headlights, hood vent, you got side scoops. Obviously, my favorite thing, it's an open-top Targa. I mean, the whole thing is just wild looking, and you really can't tell until somebody stands next to it, but it's also tiny. And that's one of the other things that draws your attention to it. You're like, what is that crazy looking small car? All right, specs that matter. In 2006, this car would have been about $43,000. In today's money, they're still about $30,000. It's powered by a 4-cylinder motor that makes 190 horsepower, which does not sound like a lot, but then you find out this car weighs less than 2,000 pounds, which is absolutely bananas. I don't think I've ever driven a car that's weighed less than 2,000 pounds. That's nothing. This thing looks like a go-kart for the road, and it weighs as much as a go-kart for the road. Now, what do you get for your $30-ish thousand in today's money? As I mentioned before, you get supercar looks, and that's pretty much it. Because if you come around here to the interior, this is the one car that I don't have to even open up to show you the inside, because there's nothing more to it than what you can see right here. You get 2 fixed bucket seats, no reclining for these bad boys, absolutely no storage to speak of. There's a little tiny net back there, and then you get some aluminum floors, a shifter, a steering wheel, 2 gauges, and a turn signal stock. Actually, this one is the touring model, so you do get power windows, which is pretty fancy. The other version of this car had roll-up windows, and that was like the one option you have on these things. Let me show you guys the engine on this bad boy. And like I kind of opened up with, this one is a little special. So how do you open it? I'm kind of reminded because I was gonna go pop the hood from in here, but no, not on the Lotus. Nope, you have to take your actual key and stick it in the key slot back here and open up what I would call the world's flimsiest hood or covering ever. It weighs nothing, but it also is just not confidence inspiring. And under here, first of all, a hood latch, but this is your Toyota 4-cylinder sourced engine. But this one has been supercharged in the aftermarket. Instead of your 190 horsepower, this one's now putting out about 255 horsepower, which is an astronomical number for a car that weighs less than 1 ton. In fact, you could say this car's got a ton of horsepower, but it doesn't weigh a ton, literally. And also back here, you'll find the only storage space on the entire car. I actually, for some reason, thought these had a frunk, but they don't. This is it. This is what I would call a hot box storage because, well, it's right next to the hottest thing on the car. But it's okay. It's a little, you can tell from my arm, you've got some storage, but this is not a good car for 2 people and luggage. It's a car for 1 guy and like 1 bag of groceries. It's a track-focused toy. It's not really for practicality. Now, again, we'll close this flimsy cover. And again, I'm a huge fan of functional vents, and this thing's full of them. As you can tell, this whole car has been modified. The supercharger aftermarket, the spoiler aftermarket, and this exhaust and all of this has been kind of cut out. It's aftermarket, but who cares? It's a track toy. And this one's obviously been tracked because you can see on these side scoops, it has been peppered with like rock chips. It's crazy. The other thing that I will point out on the outside of this car is because it's a rental. Remember, I rented this from Turo. Some people have rented this that have never driven a small car before because this right here is absolutely chewed up. Like, even from 5 feet away, there's like big divots and just this thing has taken some hits. But I thought that was the worst of the damage. Check this out. This just comes out. I mean, I'm actually worried about losing this on the highway. That is a problem. I don't know whether to chalk that up to British build quality or rental car. It's seriously, it's a toss-up on this car. Every time you hear a squeak and a rattle, you're like, is that Lotus or is that the fact that this is a rental? Now, I mentioned getting it out on the road, and we are going to do that. I've got the key right here, but it did remind me of one other complication that has to do with the Lotus. Now, I've gotten in a lot of the supercars that have the cool doors that look cool, but then you kind of look like a dork getting in and out of it. Well, unfortunately, in this case, you don't have cool doors, and you still look like a dork getting in and out of it because you have what I would describe as the world's biggest door sill right here. I mean, it's like 6 inches wide, and then you have to jump down like 2 feet to sink into it. And there's just no good way to do it. So you put your right foot in. I sound like I'm doing the hokey pokey. You kind of sit on the sill, and you get yourself ready to fall. And there you go. Now you are in the Lotus. And now my butt is actually like 1.5 feet lower than the edge of the door. So you are really down in this thing. You feel like you are on the ground. It makes for a crazy driving experience. So let's go do it. All right, before we get going, it is worth mentioning how to start the Lotus Elise. So it's an older car, but it still has race car stuff. Key in the ignition if you can find it. So turn that on, and you can turn it to start it, but nothing happens because over here you have your race car button. That is how you start it. Now, let's get this thing out on the road. First of all, everybody remember Jacob. There's no rear view mirror in this one.
Oh, weird.
I don't know why.
Wait, is there supposed to be?
I think there's supposed to be, but there just isn't one. No power steering.
It's a man's car. Even though it's small, it is a man's car.
Squeaky brakes. So I've learned my lessons of Arizona past, and I've borrowed sunglasses in advance.
I didn't even bring
You didn't
mine.
even bring yours, so now you look funny.
But I have a hat.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Oh, shit.
Right. Oh, time to go.
On throttle.
On throttle. Well, you'll notice Jacob's with me, and that's because doing a car review in a town you're not familiar with is often difficult. So am I turning left?
Yeah.
See? So he's navigating me to how to test out this Lotus. And the other thing we can test out is how a big 6'4" guy fits in here as your passenger.
Not well.
But if I even touch third, I'm pretty much grazing his leg. And fifth, forget about it. And by sixth, I'm just asking you out on a date.
Always shorts, so leg hair is being touched.
This is a car you want to ride in with your close friends.
Yes.
Very difficult to do this with like a straight. This would be a bad Uber car, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But very close gearing, and the part that I love the most is the gear shifter is so close to the steering wheel. So I only have to do this. So like right now, 2, 3. Oh, you missed gear. Hold on, I'll do it again. But here, 2, 3. And you're right back on the steering wheel. It's nice. Driving around, once you're at like a cruising speed like this, I mean, you feel every bump in the road, but it's also, I guess, expected in this kind of car. Visibility wise, there's absolutely nothing in front of you. There's no hood whatsoever, and all you get is haunches, which is great because that means you can tell where the wheels are. Another thing, it's very similar to driving a motorcycle, and not just because the engine is very rev happy, but you're just in this little dinky car and you feel it. And you feel like nobody else can see you. This is one car, you guys know I don't like dark colored cars, but this is one car I would absolutely never own in like a black or a silver. Like you need to own this in an orange, yellow, red, bright green. Like this thing needs to be as visible as possible because you are a little micro ant on the road.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the Ariel Atom before the Ariel Atom was a thing.
Exactly.
You know? Still has body panels. That's really the only difference.
Pretty much. It's very fast for this little of a car, and it makes such cool noises.
It also smells like a motorcycle.
It smells like gas.
Like
so the owner on Turo said that it smells like gas. It's running a little rich because this aftermarket supercharger obviously came with one of those out-of-the-box tunes. He thinks it's running a little rich, and because of that, I've got a check engine light on. Now, again, that could either be chalked up to normal Lotus thing or aftermarket supercharger. In this case, it's certainly the aftermarket supercharger because the Toyota engines on these are like the one thing on the car that won't give you trouble. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Handling. I mean, this thing is a freaking hoot. It is a go-kart. It is so great. The noise is enhanced by the open top motoring, and then on top of that you get, suspension banging, and you can hear any gravel on the road. it's a very, very unique driving experience compared to anything else. One of the reasons that I rented this car on Turo is to see if I would want one. So it's the kind of car that I've always thought, well, it would be a lot of fun. I love the formula, but I was worried in Wichita, Kansas, this would get old without these curves, and whether the speed would be there to be fun enough to drive every day. I don't know if the speed would be there naturally aspirated, but I will say just the overall experience of driving the car, and I guess maybe not even that, maybe just the overall occasion of driving the car really does make up for everything else. So the question is, I guess, do I still want one after driving one approximately 70 miles? And the answer is surprisingly yes. I really did think I was gonna get this out of my system and be like, well, I'm good, I drove the Elise, never again. Nope. I think I found myself wanting one even more than before I drove one. Even in this form, this is a rental car, right? So not only is it a rental car, it is a tracked rental car. So like the owner tracks it and then rents it out to yokels like me on Turo. This has to be about as loose as one could feel. And it still feels pretty darn good. People don't treat rental cars very nicely. And you can pretty much guess that whatever you're gonna rent on Turo is gonna be the loosest version of whatever car it is. So if you still like it after that, chances are it's a really good car. Sorry, leg touch.
Yeah.
That was a fifth gear leg touch.
Well, there's also, I mean, how long has this car been around? And even Hennessy picked it to build their Venom off of.
Right, and Tesla built the original Tesla Roadster off of this. I mean, it's obviously a solid platform. It's held up. And yes, they aren't $42,000 anymore, but you can't find a decent one for less than 27 forever. Like they dropped and then they held value. They have plateaued in value for the last like 15 years. It is crazy. Timeline for folks, because I don't know when I'm going to release this. This is fresh after the Z4 accident, which is why I would also rank this car the worst car to drive after you've been involved in a serious car accident. It's bumpy and you have to turn a lot to look. And nobody can see you.
There's a Range Rover behind us, and I swear it looks like a cruise ship from this vantage point in the rearview mirror. It's a sport bike.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's a sport bike on four wheels.
And it just wants to be in that upper rev range.
Yeah.
Like it seriously doesn't come alive until 5,500 RPMs. So that's the 2006 Lotus Elise. Now I rented this car because I've always wanted one, and I finally had the opportunity to try one before I bought one. And now what do I think after living with one for a few days and a few miles? Well, I actually want one even more than I thought I would. This thing is raw, bumpy, uncomfortable, and inconvenient, but you forget all of it the second you get on the gas and you shift a couple of gears. It's just an amazing car, and I see why so many people love them. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. I always do a little preview of upcoming episodes there. Like me on Facebook, join my Facebook group. It's a fun place to share memes, and I'm always in there interacting in the comments. And other than that, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe on this video, and I will see you guys on the next video. Speaking of baby exotics, the kind of people you'll make jealous when you own a Lotus. Regular old Corvette guys. That's Jacob. Okay, well, you probably can't see it. This is actually a great size comparison. I used to have a Lexus IS. Our heads are below where the door is. And a Lexus IS is not a big car. Look at it. I don't know if you can see it at all at any point. If a Lexus IS looks like a monster truck, you're in a small car. Now I'm in the passenger seat, and we're gonna make Jacob drive the little car.
All right.
Let's see if you can even get in. Oh my God.
Jesus. All right, so you gotta put, I did this with the top on earlier. You do the hokey pokey, and you get in the Lotus Elise.
I'm over here crunched against the door to give him enough room. This must have been what it's like flying in a Cessna 152 with you.
Worse.
This is worse?
No, the Cessna 152 is worse. Hey, am I gonna even be able to get in first with my leg here?
I think you could slide it.
Oh. Why didn't I do that to get in?
I don't know. I didn't realize you could do it until...
Asshole. All right.